What's up, you guys? How y'all doing? So, the University of Hawaii men's basketball team completed their first road trip of the season, technically, with two games, of course, because the last time that happened, it was on the road. There was one non-conference game and one conference game. And usually with the road trip, it's 2 games played. The first time around was only 1. And that was at Long Beach State. And boy, have they turned a corner. You saw my last video where I talked about them winning at UC Riverside 83-76. University of Hawaii completed a road sweep because they turned back Cal State Fullerton 95-86. I'm going to put up my banner here. There you go. And I also included here, last season was no fluke. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But first of all, guys, just remember, subscribe if you think that I'm just worth listening to, or if you want to see some more of my other games. And I will have a couple up later today when I post this, because it's officially Monday I'm making this video. But still, there was also Anaheim 1 Supercross. I'm going to talk about that probably tomorrow. But, we'll see. Maybe I might do that recap on Monday as well. But we'll see. I actually had to rewatch the race because I had to miss the main events because I had to go to a birthday dinner for my sister. But we'll talk. But that's not for this. But that's not for this video. I'm going to talk about men's basketball tonight. So remember, guys, subscribe. Let's get into this. You've already seen my banner here. Completes road sweep with 95-86 win at Cal State Fullerton. And why was last season no fluke? Because UH really needed to get this win, not only for the season, but also to solidify in their minds that they can turn back a team like Cal State Fullerton and maybe get 2 wins over them. Now, the last time UH beat Cal State Fullerton at home in our place here at the Stan Sheriff Center, that was actually way back in 2022. I know it may not sound like a long time, but believe me, if you count the Big West tournament last season where they beat them at Titan Gym, that halted a 5-game skid that UH was under with Cal State Fullerton. And that started with the Big West tournament where UH's shots just did not go. They tried so hard and nothing went in. Hardly anything went in. As a matter of fact, they had committed more turnovers than made field goals for the whole game in the Big West tournament in 2022. And then in 2023, UH would lose to Cal State Fullerton 3 times. Once at their place, and again at home, and again in the Big West tournament. And all of that was because of those Jekyll and Hyde games that they were going through, all because Juan Munoz was on the sidelines. And last season at home, UH was going through a bit of a lull going back to the Diamond Head Classic. And that all kind of started when Javon McClanahan's last-second shot in regulation from about mid-court was negated because it was after the horn, unfortunately. And then, just when you think it's going to be 6 in a row, UH erased all of those doubts with an early run in the first half to get up to close to 30 points, while Cal State Fullerton was knocking on the door of double digits of 10 points. This year, and in fact, going back to last season, and although UH had gone through an 11-0 run by Cal State Fullerton, Fullerton did not get any closer than 5 points. Okay? And fortunately, UH was solid then, and they were able to run away with that win. And I'll tell you what, that's what they needed. They had to prove that last season was no fluke, and they did just that. Hence why my banner says that here. Last season was no fluke. And if you're the University of Hawaii, this is the kind of win that you needed against a team like Fullerton and not have that kind of negative thoughts coming your way that you're never going to get a win over them again. Now, as for Santa Barbara, UH has another crack at them sometime next month or so, or maybe in March, I'm not sure. But still, for UH to finally break this jinx over Santa Barbara, they really proved that they turned a corner. But the problem was they went through an 8-minute scoring drought in that game. And UH in this game, in the first half, had gone through a 6-minute scoring drought. But fortunately, Cal State Fullerton had missed enough shots to a point where the closest they got was a tie for the lead. And fortunately for UH, they were able to respond efficiently, both offensively and defensively, to a point where they never trailed for 2 seconds. Now, Cal State Fullerton, they're 0-6 in conference play, but they've lost their fair share of guys. I think Torrey San Antonio graduated. They lost the services of Max Jones. He transferred out. Beryl Kabamba also transferred out. So the only real threats that they had were Donovan Oday, one of the starters, and a guy off the bench, Zion Richardson. Zion Richardson had 15, and Donovan Oday had a career-high 29. But that seems to be the problem that UH has. Even though they came away with this win, they didn't really have an answer for someone who scores over 20 or 30 in a single game. But I would kind of call that a double-edged sword in this case, because UH led from start to finish. And despite Donovan Oday had 1 triple in that game, 1 or 2 maybe, no, he actually had 1, because Cal State Fullerton had 4 of them, had 4 triples. Zion Richardson, he nailed 3 of them. And most of O'Day's points were in the paint. Some of it at the free throw line, but most of it was in the paint. Now, as for UH, who led the way? It was none other than Gytis Nemeikša. He had 20. And I was also very encouraged that Gytis has certainly shown that he can be the key big guy to anchor this team. But in terms of point guards, Aaron Hunkin-Clater has really shown that he is, as advertised, a legitimate point guard. I compared him a little bit to Drew Buggs and Brock Steptoe in my mind. But, of course, obviously, the clear point guard is Roderick Bobbitt, and a second one is Anthony Carter. But because Bobbitt was a clear point guard because he was really athletic. Buggs and Steptoe, they were three-point shooters as well, and they have very efficient ball control. Aaron Hunkin-Clater has really good ball control, and his could be comparable to Buggs and Steptoe. And, of course, Ryan Rapp has some point guard experience. He kind of showed it as well. He even hit a 3 in the first half, and he knows how to anchor this team as well. And that leads me to believe that after this season, Aaron Hunkin-Clater has proved himself worthy of a start job. If he doesn't get a start job this season, I'm going to be a little bit surprised. But then again, he is a freshman and he is prone to mistakes, and you can't really hold that against him. I too thought I am also in support of Aaron Hunkin-Clater getting a start job. And if this game was if this road trip is any indication, Aaron Hunkin-Clater has put himself on the radar. He had 7 points in this game, and I believe he also had a 3 in that game this game as well. But I was very, very encouraged that UH did not show that this performance, their performance at Titan Gym last season was no fluke or not just a flash in the pan. Because for Santa Barbara, that might have been, one could legitimately say that may have been a flash in the pan after UH had that incredible comeback game in 2022, and they almost pulled off the win in 2023 at home, only to be double whammied by a layup by AJ Mitchell, and he's no longer at Santa Barbara because he drafted for the NBA, and he made it. But in that game, UH had no answer for Stefan Swenson against Santa Barbara. And if they can hold Swenson down in the road matchup, they got a fighting chance to turn back Santa Barbara for the first time at their place since 2016. And it's long awaited because that's 6 losses in a row. And that was a win that I think UH should have had. And this was a win that UH should have and did have with Cal State Fullerton. Because obviously the bad luck was going to go away sooner or later. And fortunately, UH was able to execute and not be so gun-shy like they were in some games prior. And I like to think that they were kind of gun-shy in the Santa Barbara loss because nobody was going for the 50-50 balls, especially under their own basket. UH I'm talking about. But UH, despite the fact that they had 18 turnovers in that game compared to Cal State Fullerton's 7, that was the only outlier, but I think that was all null and void because UH was solid both offensively and defensively. Now, there was a time in the second half where UH had made some shots, but they were negated because of fouls that took place before the shot on Cal State Fullerton. But it didn't seem to faze them because UH made their free throws. How many free throws did they miss all game long? Only 2. 2 free throws. Okay? I've yet to see a game where UH makes every single one of their free throws and make with a significant number like free throws. Okay? So I would give this game and this road trip an A grade because UH proved that their sweep over Riverside was and the fact that they were able to score 11 unanswered against Riverside and go on a good run and actually respond back from a 6-minute scoring drought in the first half over Cal State Fullerton, those are 2 big statements that they made. So for UH to come through with this win, they're now tied for 3rd in the standings because Cal State Bakersfield turned back CSUN, UH's next opponent, on January 16th. Because Bakersfield turned back CSUN 94-90, which puts UH at the top of a 3rd place tie in the standings. And that is great news to see. I'm very much convinced that UH has turned a corner much sooner than it took them last year. Because last season, it took them until around a little after halfway, and Gannat had to go through the starting lineup, make some changes, and he struck gold, putting Akira Jacobs in against Riverside, and it turned out to be a good move. And right now, I do believe that Aaron Huckenklater should be at a starting job. And if Tom Beattie has to come off the bench again, then so be it. But then again, Tom Beattie did really good. He had 16 in that win. But still, when you look at this win, not only against Cal State Fullerton, not only did they need this, but the fact that they scored 95 points against a conference opponent is speaking a big amount of volumes. And Javon McClanahan had a interesting point about that as well when I asked him about the Cal Poly win and them and the season being all about pride for the time being until they clicked. Because the way that they played in that game against Cal Poly last season, At times, it didn't look very pretty, but they played like the pressure was off. Not all the pressure, but most of the pressure was off their shoulders. And there was a time where they were 0-2 in conference play this season, UH I'm talking about, and I thought, okay, let's just look at it as all about pride for now. And look at what's happened. We got 3 wins in a row, and we got the potential to make it a 5-game win streak because we've had some good luck over CSUN. And Bakersfield, we've been able to turn them back every single time since 2021, where Bakersfield was stacked at that time. And in the 21 season, that was the only team that I thought outpaced UH. But Bakersfield lost a big chunk of their roster to the portal, and they haven't really been the same since, but they have shown that they can compete. And 2 seasons ago was a prime example of that. But UH has really turned a corner, and if these games, what I've seen in these games are any indication, one wonders if Bakersfield really doesn't stand a chance against us, because I'm convinced that this team has turned a corner, and it looked like that having that conference game against Long Beach State turned out to be a good thing because UH saw what they were doing wrong. Plus, there may have also been some hangover from the Grand Canyon loss. But at the same time, I do think that they turned a corner when they came back to within 1 against Grand Canyon. And the fact that they have turned the corner this early in conference season is a very, very good sign. Because they had to click at some point, and going back to non-conference play where the pressure is off, and even in the Diamond Head Classic, they were able to come back to conference play with some momentum after turning back Oakland for 3rd place in the Diamond Head Classic. And the fact that they were able to turn back Oakland and bring some momentum with them back to conference play is solid proof in my mind that this team cannot and should not be counted out. Take my word on this. And I'll tell you, take my word on this. And if what I've seen is any indication, if Santa Barbara is any indication, UC Irvine is going to have their hands full when UH goes up against them. It won't be easy, but UH has a fighting chance against them. And Irvine is another one of the perennial front runners. And if UH can really show that they have learned their lesson and they have this kind of fight in them, we're going to be in for one hell of a season. Are we going to win out the rest of the season? Probably not, but you like to think so. But this team is really proving to be a joy to watch. And for all Hawaii fans out there, come and see this basketball team because they're going to be a great squad. Last season was supposed to be a payoff year. Looks like this year could be a payoff year for them. So hopefully we'll do that. And, of course, next game is against CSUN on January 16th at the Stan Sheriff Center. I will be there in the stands. And, of course, we'll play on Saturday against Cal State Bakersfield. I do think both games will be wins. But both games, I'm putting Hawaii as 6-point favorites because you can't discount your opponents because the Big West is pretty much wide open. And there are going to be very few games that will be gimmies for this squad. And I think UH will definitely come away with 2 wins at home as well. I had said before they left for the mainland that UH had no excuse to come away with worse than a split. And they proved me right. They came away with the goods. So you know what? Get your tickets and go see the UH men's basketball team. I fully recommend it because this team is not likely to let you down if they keep playing like this. So thanks, guys. That's it for today. And remember, subscribe And stay tuned for my recap of Anaheim 1, which will come either Tuesday or Wednesday. So, Malama Pono, folks.